we have a great zoning planner right now. So is he gonna land roll over, or does he have to apply?
Would certainly, all these positions, individuals would certainly have to apply. But what we're doing, to go on to the next question, to lead into Rachel's information. What's in the budget is the total personnel cost, which is their salaries, their benefits, their retirement, all of those numbers. And where we came up with the salaries of these, we're doing a salary study on the equivalent cities of our size or anticipated to be our size and their existing pay. So we went in that range of what similar jurisdictions we have. And then the additional fees, I'll let Rachel go on to add in those.
Sure. So the total personnel cost you're looking at is, what that represents is the cost to the city to employ that person. Not necessarily what they actually see. This is what we would call the fully burdened cost to the city. So it includes the raw rate, which is that individual's salary. It includes employee benefits, payroll taxes, workers' comp insurance, all of those things that it costs the city to employ that person. So, what you're seeing here in a total personnel cost is, a good bit more because benefits are expensive than what the actual salary rate is. And as Dale mentioned, we used the DCA salary survey, among other things, to get an acceptable range for these positions.
You give me the explanation, but you're not giving me a number.
Well, that's a loaded question. There's 5 positions, and there's multiple components that go into that total personnel cost. So, it's to.
So what's the base salary of each of these positions?
I can pull
It's a
that
range,
information, I can pull those ranges and have them to city council with those individuals. I don't have them right in front of me, unfortunately. But I do have those in a chart, and I do have those positions in an organizational chart that I will provide.
The Darby building renovation. $50,000, can you elaborate more on what that's for?
I want to clarify that, we have Darby in the presentation, and that's an oversight on mine. That was funds, that part of that was in the Darby, but that was building renovations. And I believe that fee was also to include city hall renovations and some monies for the Darby renovation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right, I just asked him about that.
The city hall renovation is a separate line item.
That's a separate line item.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know where the 50,000 came from. I just asked about it because what we did on the Darby building, we gave them 7,000, that was last year.
10,000, we
Okay.
spent 1,000, so we have a
Yeah.
carryover of 9,000.
Of 9,000.
I know
So
that
I
there were
don't-
some funds that were rolled over from previous years, so
Why does that say 50? It shouldn't say 50,000.
Yeah.
I didn't think so either.
It should say 9,000. I think I copied and pasted
And I
probably the
think-
city hall renovation.
yeah,
Yeah, you probably
50,000
did.
is the city hall renovation,
Please,
so that's
right,
my
forgive me.
apology on that, that notes.
That should be 9,000.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
No, I just did.
That'd be a real
I
nice.
noticed it too.
I mean, I already got-
Darby would be
I already
really up and
circled
running.
it.
Yeah, is that
What is this?
Yeah, is that a
We can
gold,
redo a whole
gold-plated
And that is just,
floor?
and I will say that mistake is just in the verbiage, the Word document, it's not in the numbers. Your numbers won't change,
Right,
it's
it's
just a
just
typo, okay? Okay, but I'll fix that.
The Darby building, we did have it painted, and that was the 1,000. And so now they can go in there and do the floor and the ceiling and all that stuff, and it's gonna look nice.
That was money that was allocated in last budget, that's rolled over.
And that is our, historical commission group, and, one of us is always on it, and Hope's on it this year.
I just seen, I was like, what are we doing here? $50,000.
I know, I saw that too, and I showed it to him, I go, what is that? And he goes, well, that rolls over, and I'm like, that's something else, but it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, honey.
While we're talking about oversight.
Oh, it's all right.
So also it was brought to our attention that we overlooked adding the municipal court department.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I had included that, and you will see it in totality, $7,500, you will see that in your budget that comes before you for adoption.
Is
It'll
that a
be
year or?
Yes, that's it, for the 4 sessions a year. It provides for a judge, I put some money in for bailiff, court reporter, and supplies. And we'll have a point mid-year amendment that we can assess whether our costs are estimated correctly and revise them if needed.
Did we make some
expenditures that come from that, I suspect they won't they won't even touch
They
what the
won't touch
expense
it.
is. But, we will definitely incorporate those once we have an idea what they're gonna be. I
We
just
should
don't
be
have any
pretty
way to
close,
estimate
with
those.
a bunch of code knowledge that we have around here.
So
Well-
that will be included.
Well, I will tell you, we did have a code enforcement. It was $65 an hour. By the time we had him go around and get on to people, and then we decided, you know, you gotta have teeth. I mean, we tell you to do something and you don't do it, then we gotta have court. Well, you ended up with people coming in here that didn't cut their grass and we charged them $35 and we had to eat all this money. So that needs to be reconstructed, and then this last time we were supposed to have court, we exited it because it cost so much. And the fines coming back in from it are so little.
Is it gonna be a company, or are we gonna hire personnel for?
We're looking at all different options right now. Hiring a part-time individual that would do that is an option, hiring a firm that can do that is an option. It's all what's most cost effective to us. If you have a part-time individual, you know, there are some fees associated with that. And then if you also have the rent-a-cop, there's some different fees associated with that. So we have to, it's gonna be,
Translators and all.
you'll
I mean,
get a lot more
it's-
numbers, I'll have a lot more
a lot
solid
to it.
numbers in the next month, you guys can start looking.
And I'll tell you, when we were trying to do our budgets and stuff, there were just some things we couldn't do, and we tried that, and it was so expensive, so we just put it on the back burner until we could get a little more revenue back up to do something. It's just that when you send somebody out there and he gets on to somebody, and they just don't do it, and you just keep on trying to work with them, then to have any teeth, you have to go to court.
Well, I mean, that makes sense in the sense, there's no, I mean, you're gonna send somebody to enforce the code.
Right. And then you didn't have court.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna ignore you because you don't have a way
That's
to
right,
enforce it.
that's right, there's no teeth.
Right.
So that is something that needs to be looked into better and studied,
Equipment that goes with that, you need your truck, you need, you know, those type of things. It's
You'll
an
have to
expensive
wait.
venture, but it definitely will, if it's something the city council wants to move forward with, we certainly will do that.
The floor repairs for Fish Hall.
We can, we'll, those, Justin, you wanna explain some of that?
Okay, so
yeah, because when you came today, we were gonna walk
we
around.
were
and
gonna
show
take you
you.
over and show you.
Yeah.
There's, so a portion of Bush Hall was redone, the kitchen's been redone. What they did when that building has been moved, I think twice. It's a, very, very, very old building. As a matter of fact, if y'all look around that picture over Councilman Cleveland,
Yeah, it shows.
that's
that.
where it was originally. They moved it, and then they moved it back. So, a lot of the joists in the floor had to be redone, but they had to be redone from the top. So they had to take the floor out, and then get up underneath the building and redo everything. So, the really bad portions of the floor were redone the last time, and now what we're looking to do is redo the front half, which is, I believe it's a little bit smaller than what was redone, that was done on the back half.
So the back half has been renovated, the front half is now falling through, so that's what's
It's a
left.
front corner, and it's where we have the chairs and all sitting, and we just began to.
So the same process will have to be done, except the kitchen won't have to be redone anymore. This is just more floor joists and flooring.
Yeah.
They did a partial floor,
Right.
and everybody walks on the whole floor.
Well, it's, if you
Didn't
go
have
in there
money
and
to
see.
do the whole thing, start with.
Yeah, we did, we piecemealed it, but it's the front corner, and you wouldn't really walk there, but we stored the chairs and the tables there, and it didn't take but a little bit till it started, and we said, okay, we didn't realize we had a big problem
And
there.
I can show council, I
Yeah.
can show y'all what all we anticipated needs to be done over there, what we're looking at doing.
We are not renting it for the time being until it's fixed because of this issue. Unfortunately, when you're in a situation or when you're in a town with a lot of old buildings, we have to make sure we put funds aside to repair things over time. And that's more discussions we'll have in our capital improvement plan.
But it's, when the renters left, there was a lot that we had to come up to code. We did not have a handicap bathroom, the back where you get out the back door, it had been just nailed together. I mean, we had to do a lot of stuff, and we did it a little bit at a time, as we could afford it.
It didn't meet fire codes or anything.
No,
Right,
it didn't.
we are,
Really had to
we
work.
are aware of the issues with it, and what we'll do is we'll spend, pick a time that you're available, Council, we'll take you over and show you those issues.
Is this the 15,000, that's the firm number?
We haven't put that out to bid yet, it was an estimate that we had, some construction individuals that we know we get estimates from, off the cuff, and then also we have some of our staff has done some construction and they can ballpark things.
Understand.
So it might be, we hope that
We
our
hope it's
estimates are
less.
right.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be less, but didn't wanna, what if you put 8,000 in there, then it costs 15? So,
We overestimate in as much as we can.
does any more council have any more questions? I'm not rushing you, it's just, does anybody have any more questions? You got some more, Tom? Which one?
When are we planning on removing those trees in the villages?
The villages, we're having some issues with negotiations for liability and attorney issues.
Gotcha.
Because if we go, here's some scenarios. We go and remove all the trees because they're in the right of way, and then all the, I would say all, but a number of the residents get very upset because of the beautiful nature of the drive coming through with all the trees, and then we've totally changed the feel of that neighborhood, so we don't wanna do that. However, some of the residents wanna keep their trees. Some of the residents wanna get rid of their trees. So we have been talking with the HOA over there to see what they want and hopefully get a consensus of that. We do have some ideas of what we can do. We're working through legal groups to see what we're allowed to do. We have given the HOA the right to trim up the trees as they deem fit. We've given paperwork to the HOA president, and we're waiting to get that signed by their attorneys. Things take so long when we get attorneys involved. But, so we've given our paperwork to their attorney's looking for it, and then when they get it back to us, I anticipate that the HOA will limb up the trees. They need to be limbed up to about a 12-foot height all around. But keep in mind, as soon as you do that, you're gonna have a little tiny gumdrop on top of a long stem, so, there's no perfect solution to this as of yet that we see, but we are working on it.
What you need to always remember when you guys are working with subdivisions, they'll never do that one again. Where the city owns the sidewalk, the green area, the curb, the road, and the tree in the green area. Don't ever do that again.
That's not a standard practice. A lot of old subdivisions did that, and they look beautiful. You know, that, driving into that subdivision, wonderful. However, the maintenance issues and the liability issues over time could really hurt a city's budget.
And we've already went in there and took out a bunch of trees and fixed the sidewalk, because the roots push the sidewalks
And
up.
there are other sidewalks we're in the process of looking into and fixing right now.
Yeah, so when you're working with, of course, you'll have Justin, and I wasn't here when the village was done, and I don't know who was in charge, but it just seemed like a good idea, and it just was not. So always keep that in mind. We don't wanna own nothing we don't have to, remember that.
Okay, I got one thing.
Okay?
You gotta have a new water tank. And the
It's in
original,
here, isn't it?
Yes.
the original estimates were somewhere in the neighborhood of $900,000 to $1 million. We've
That's
got
correct.
$520,000 in the budget for the water tank for next year. If we don't get it in next year, some people are gonna be really complaining about your water pressure. I know mine has gone from 62 PSI down to 45 now. And it's because of all the additional houses and all that we've built in the city, supplying water to it. But the water pressure is going to continue to drop until probably that tank is fully operational. I know we're pulling some pressure from Brazelton. We're getting more water from Brazelton than we have been, just to keep the pressures up. And Coulter subdivision development down here is not gonna be happy with 30 or 35 PSI and more.
Do you wanna talk about that? First
So,
off,
the bottom line is will the water tank be completely installed next year?
Let me address that first, and then I'll turn it over to Corinna. It is going to be a multi-year project, okay, with your property acquisition, design, engineering, permitting, and construction. It can't be completed in 1 year. We are in the process right now of doing the property acquisition and preliminary design. We have done design studies to know what size we can have, where we can pull the water from. So we anticipate, the reason why it's only the amount it is this year, we understand it's more, it'll be a multi-year project. We'll be a part of this year, and then the rest of it will be next year. Randy, you want to add to that or clarify?
I think that was exactly how it would be. You know, we're working on acquisition right now, and then there's just a multiple phase to getting it in.
We've been in the process of doing it this year, and it's because of, an item like that does have to be approval and all these other approvals, it takes some time.
Justin?
Also, we are, to address one of your other concerns, some of the southern neighborhoods, I guess you would say, of the city, we're working on some water modeling, right? Water modeling and some improved connections, on some of the sides, to boost that pressure. Our engineers have, seen that we're gonna have some dropping of pressure problems, but there are some interim remedies for the next 2 years before the tank is installed that will remedy almost all pressure problems, for a substantially lower.
Additional connections, looping,
Right.
increased volume from, or increased draw from other areas, or options for the short term fix until we get the next outlet.
Part of that is in the Coulter phasing, not in their phase 1 that they're doing right now, but the next phase, which should be in the beginning of next year. Part of that connection, when they add some more of those homes, that connection will boost pressure. It's a increased line size and extra connection. So that'll, for the interim, that'll take care of a lot of the pressure problems that could occur.
Phase 1 is how many homes per phase?
It's, on the Crestwood side, it's 121 homes. Those are the age restricted, 55 and older. And,
135,
it's
158.
153 or 154 on the, what was formerly called the Preserve, they're now calling Twin Lakes. But there's 3 builders building over there, and phase 1 of that side is, I wanna say it's 153.
We expect that they'll be going vertical early next year.
They're actually building them all homes right now.
Yeah.
They move very fast. Very fast. Anybody else got anything before I open questions up to the audience?
So right now, no clue as to where the water tower is actually going to be. We're just in the process of figuring it out right now.
Yeah, right, we're looking at where the best location would be. There's several spots that it could be because of the height and the pressure, but nothing's solidified, finalized.
So we shouldn't face the issue with all the, now, I'm pretty sure with all the temporary plans or temporary fixes, that's gonna cost us additional funding, additional money too. Has it been allocated in the budget as well, or is it something that's gonna come up and we just have to figure it out?
We-
As
we've
far as
got-
property,
Yeah, we've got one that we think will really work good, and to be honest with you, the man is going to,
work with us to address that issue, so we've added it in the budget that it should, right now, our plans, everything we know, everything's working very well on this, on the negotiation side.
we're hoping he just gets it.
We can always hope, couldn't we?
Yes.
And then that would mean that we would have some adjustments in funding.
Y'all feel good? Got anything else you want to talk
Really
about?
good questions, great
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
Please remember that this is the draft at this point. We will be working on this coming forward. This is the portion of the summary basically is, there is, the guts of it that get into the nitty gritty bolts, and we'll get that to you, at the earliest convenience, and then you can really dive into it, this is really what you need.
So we're expecting to vote on the actual budget by when?
I think it's the 21st.
December 9th. Yeah. I think it's
Is it the
December
9th?
We changed it, it's December 9th.
That's not that far away. About 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, hearing adoption.
I've already incorporated
On
all
the
the
ninth.
changes we've discussed.
Is that not what you
I
said?
just have to answer y'all's
Yes.
questions at this point, so.
It is, the next budget hearing is December 9th at 5:30. It will be across the street, and that is the adoption of the budget.
But, I will tell you, Rachel can meet with you guys, and she is so full of this thing, this is her thing. So she can she not, Hope? She can really, really get down on
Yeah,
I
I
welcome y'all to.
Contact me, and we can set up, meetings to go over interim items. You can send her an email through her city of Hoschton email, and, correspond to that.
Okay. Okay, and let's see. Irma, you got questions?
I do it, plural.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the first one
Do
is,
you want her to come up here, or can y'all hear her okay?
That's entirely up to her, however she wants.
I need to open a
Jack's
public
pretty well.
hearing. Thank you, I'm just moving right along.
Now, keep in mind that these are questions that can be asked to staff and city council. It's not necessarily dialogue, but we will certainly take note of items and get back to you as soon as possible, whatever the answers they may be. So it's more of a, like our normal meetings, it's a comment and question, but not a dialogue type issue.
right, yeah,
Okay.
these are definitely questions,
Okay.
Okay.
that we.
Wait a
Hold on.
minute, I have to go into it, I gotta vote into it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, all right, so public hearing related to budget. And I need a motion to go into the public hearing?
Mostly on the first hearing.
Thank you, second? Thank you, all in favor? All right, now we're gonna go into the public hearing, and, Miss Denny,
Okay,
your turn now.
sure. Okay, the first question is, where are the additional facility departments that are mentioned in the budget?
Could you clarify that? Where are they?
Yeah, what are they? It looked like there were additional ones?
It represents city facilities, City Hall, the depot, Push Hall, the city-owned facilities.
Are there any
And the
additional?
maintenance of
Okay.
those.
Are there any additional facilities?
No,
planned?
but do you want to give us some? Do you want to donate
We'll
some
take
property?
property.
We'd love to have it.
I was trying to think, I can't think of
No, I just
any.
wanted to know if there was anything additional coming
Nothing's
into
been
play.
added, no
Got it.
facilities have been added, they've just been moved
Got it,
from
thank
other
you.
departments. Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha, all right, well, second question, speaking of moving. Thank you for going ahead and answering the +5 -2 details. So for those job openings, who would be involved in the hiring process and when will those jobs be posted?
Those jobs are being, the job descriptions are being finalized in the next week or so. Some of those are supposed to be internal postings first. We will see what applications come in, and they'll be it'll be put externally. Some of them will be put right externally because I don't believe there would be individuals internally that could meet the qualifications. So we'll be working with the internal ones first, and then working with the other external ones early next year.
And the first part of that question is who will be involved in the hiring process?
Internally, those positions would come in and work through the city administrator, okay? The hiring and firing per our charter is the mayor. So the mayor will be responsible for hiring and firing on those, except for the items that are division heads, which would be public works director and the public development director. Those
Right.
will be again recommended by the city administrator and go to the city council for their approval.
Got it. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay, so based on Rachel's comment about the months of unassigned reserves have been trending down for the past 4 years, what is the council doing now to address the consultant's concern regarding the steady decrease? Instead of waiting till next year, say for the 2021 budget, what are you doing now to address this? Since you've seen 4 years, which is obviously a trend.
We, in doing the budgeting for this year, we're looking for year to year, so this year we are going to be meeting in our retreat, which is coming forward. We're planning it now. We'll have actually some dates that are proposed that come to the council at the next meeting date with our calendar set. And then at that meeting, staff has some recommendations that they could consider to address the long-term issues that we see by the decrease in revenue.
We've had internal discussions, but
Right.
they've just been discussions in this point. There's a lot of calculations and estimates and projections involved, and certainly getting council's opinion and thoughts.
Is anyone concerned that there's the steady decline in unassigned reserves, but there's an obvious exponential increase now in the budget as far as, especially as it relates to additional staffing and those positions being elevated?
By elevated,
Assuming salary and responsibility up to department head, elevating these from, why we're going from say just the normal
As-
planning and zoning to a, public development director.
we're looking to add up to 3,000, 4,000 homes in development. So with that increase of housing, an increase of influx in population, you need staff to address the needs. Right now, we're working on a skeleton crew as it is, so it's no doubt whatsoever to provide a level of service to our citizens, we need to increase staff, and that's what we're looking to do incrementally over time to address the needs of the citizens, and we're looking at the projected revenue to offset those costs. We wouldn't be recommending expansion if we couldn't justify and carry that forward. However, we will need some hard choices over the next couple of years to maintain level of service for our citizens. When you look in totality of how we grow, we need a balance of revenue streams, and at the present time, we don't have those.
Are you mainly thinking, contemplating with the culture development being what brings this 3,000 to 4,000? Is that the main source?
Now, there's other developments, there's Brighton Park that came on, there were all the residential developments for the last few years.
Sure.
They've been pipe farmed for some time, they've now picked up and started running, so those are certainly some developments that, needed to be addressed in the Coulter development. Coulter development tripled the size of the city, so,
Will triple.
yeah.
Right. Gotcha. And next year they're slated for about 120 homes?
We met with them recently and minimum 200 each. 100 one side, 100 the other side. Yeah, go ahead,
You
Justin.
answered, Justin.
So they're saying that they wanna do 100 aside, but their goal is to do 200 aside while the economy's still strong and while people are still buying houses. They're gonna try to cram in as many of them as they can. Obviously, while the market's really good and people are still buying them,
Right.
I've been told that they have a waiting list already. So they're gonna be kicking out as many as they can, as fast as they can get plans approved, and then get building permits, and then get their final plats approved to sell the homes. They're gonna be kicking them out as far as the economy will hold. Now, I think it's probably gonna be somewhere 150 aside, so I'm saying 300. Their goal is to do 400 a year.
And keep in mind, that's not the only development we have going on. We have other developments that are looking to start up or continue out and finish out, so it's a good time for growth.
I'd also like to add that I don't necessarily focus on the stuff they're telling you right now, but from a numbers perspective, I focus on the weight of personnel services as compared to the total general fund budget. The fiscal year 20 budget proposes, it's about 27% in personal services and employee benefits as compared to total general fund revenues. That's very normal and appropriate. So when I see that number start to creep up into the 40 to 50%, then there's cause for concern. Maybe we're heavy in the staffing area. Pushing 27%, fine, as far as it doesn't cause me any heartburn from being able to.
We were at 22, weren't we?
I'd have to calculate what we were at.
How do you run a city on this little? And I said, well, that's all we've got.
You do what you can.
Yeah.
I appreciate those answers, and I really actually, I want to also say thank you to Justin for mentioning twice about while the economy is still good, because I think that's exactly where I was getting to, is, are you sure that next year, adding this many, when it's kind of a question of tentative time, and I think you hit the nail on the head, is while the economy's still good, culture's trying to cram it, get as many done as they can, because we all are, contemplating what could be covered. So I think that's exactly what I was.
And for your peace of mind, I run projections,
Mhm.
factoring into, we mentioned one-time revenues and one-time expenditures. I also look at what our operational revenues are
Mhm.
and do projections on what ifs.
Right.
What if 30% of our revenue fell off? Where would that put us? How long could we sustain? So I've looked at some of those things and considered those in our budget present.
Gotcha. All right, so the next question is, how much money is allocated for the waste, water and sewer category that includes EMI, and how does that differ from the final 2019? And that's probably gonna be in the details that you have the snapshots for that we weren't privy to, but the, can't remember the consulting
Allocated
category.
EMI as far as our expansion of our present services or the upkeep of our service, there's multiple
Right.
different facets of that.
And it may have to be something I can email to Rachel with the categories, because the categories are in the expanded view instead of this,
Right.
draft.
Right.
This
Because we-
narrative, the budget narrative, it's included in the actual, where you saw the snapshots
So
earlier.
boring down on those, send those emails to me and Rachel
Sure.
and we'll
I
certainly.
was just curious how much EMI was going to be, the category for, that we use EMI, cause that had been a big question earlier this year, was the overruns, and this is pre-you, Dale, sorry, so I'll explain, there were some questions because, and maybe Councilwoman Weeks can address it, is how much additional expenses in the categories as they related to the EMI expenditures than what had been proposed in the budget. And I was wondering how much then more we were gonna do for 2020. So this is a kind of a,
Yeah,
pre-existing.
we do have multiple projects ongoing that are started, that have been started with EMI, and we have used other engineering services for some other engineering things. It's my recommendation to city council that we'll be talking to them in the near future of putting out an RFP for engineering services, so we have multiple